Have you ever wondered why you are not as effective at sharing your faith as you think you ought to be? Have you ever wondered?
Yes.
I mean, I'm assuming that probably most people do. You love Jesus, and Jesus is genuinely in your heart, but somehow that overflow is not translating to the people around you. I think most of us want it to. Most of us that have been truly and genuinely touched by the love of Jesus Christ, that have had our lives transformed, we want to see that migrating into the lives of the people around us. We want to see that love spilling over to the people around us. I think all of us probably can think of a family member that is not at a place of peace that we would like to see them at, that they're just not at a place of comfort and relationship with Jesus Christ we'd like to see. Maybe it's somebody at work, maybe it's just a friend, maybe it's somebody you grew up with, maybe it's somebody you just met, I don't know. Maybe it's somebody in one of your classes or at your workplace. I think that there's any of us and all of us that would like to have just somehow more impact. There'd be more of Jesus overflowing out of us to those around us. I want to suggest that there is a distinct possibility that in the church today, largely in the church today, that we are following a broken model. The reason we're not as effective as we think that we should be is because we're following a broken model. We're following a model that has taught us over time that if we teach people, we then can build relationships with those who accept our teaching. We've gotten in a mode of teaching people what is right and what is wrong, and then those that will receive it, we seek out to build relationships with them. And the problem is that we're finding that fewer and fewer people will receive the message that we're teaching. Consequently, there's nobody to build relationships with. You may not believe me, but if you don't, I encourage you to start looking around, and you will find that there are empty churches all over the place. I encourage you to start engaging people in your places of work, in your places where you go to school, in your neighborhoods, and you will find more and more people that say, well, I used to go to church, but I don't really go to church anymore. They found that church is not relevant for them, it's not meeting their needs, and they're now looking in other places. They are looking to other areas in the world. They are looking to other philosophies, other religions. They are looking to recreation. They are looking to escapism. They are looking to all types of activities to fulfill social, spiritual, personal needs, because they're not being met by the church. The reality of the matter is, I'm not sure that the model of teaching and then building relationships with those who receive your teaching ever worked. But if it did used to work, it doesn't work in the world that we live in today. And part of that is simply due to something that has nothing to do with the church. I believe it's due to the mass media that we live in. We are so bombarded with information, particularly here in America. Certainly the young people, the students, but anybody that's using technology, anybody that's got a TV, anybody that's got a radio, anybody that's got a computer. You know, there's some websites now that I go to, like if I want to see something on the news, I'll go to a website, and there are so many random videos and messages and streaming banners and animated things that the page won't even load. I won't even watch it. I just go away. I just find something I can read that doesn't have all of that junk. There is such a bombardment of message. There are so many pitchmen and so many ads and so much. Honestly, I mean, we're right to be suspect. I'd probably, if I open my email box right now, on one of my emails, I probably have 19 things telling me how much money I've inherited in the last 24 hours if I will only claim it. There are people that have just sent me thousands of dollars for absolutely no reason, and all I have to do is click on this link and send them some information and they'll deposit. There are so many insincere, ingenuous, non-personal messages. We are so bombarded by people that want something from us or want us to do something for them or to give them something, that it's only natural that we would have our guard up. And we would be reluctant to anybody that brings us a message and has no credibility with us. Therefore, I would propose today that the only way that we are going to truly be effective in sharing our witness and sharing what Jesus Christ has done for us, and to sharing that love and that life that has transformed us, in sharing it with others, would be that we build relationship first. And through that relationship, then we're able to teach. There's a story in the 4th chapter of John. And if you'll bear with me for a moment, we've stepped out of our series in James. We've been teaching expositionally for some time now, verse by verse through the book of James. Last week we stepped away and talked about fishing, mainly because, as you all know, I like fishing. But I think there were some spiritual principles there last week. Amen? And today, I really felt moved of the Lord to talk about this as we look with this ministry to increase the impact that we are having on the lives of those around us, whether it's in our workplace, in our families, or our homes. But I asked the Lord, and this is where the Lord took me, just to make the point today. It's the woman at the well. Now, today's Father's Day. And you may think, Pastor, there is no more bizarre place that you could go to talk about Father's Day than the woman at the well. Because she's not a father. She's a woman. She's at a well. Don't know of any story of kids in here. But if you'll bear with me for a few moments, I think that I can show you that we can tie this to Father's Day. Amen? When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself baptized not, but his disciples did, he left Judea and he departed into Galilee. And he had to go through Samaria. Then he came to the city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There came a woman of Samaria to draw water. And Jesus said unto her, Give me a drink. For his disciples were gone away into the city to buy meat, to buy food, dinner. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me? For I am a woman of Samaria. For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, Give me drink, thou wouldest have asked him, and he would have given her living water. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From where on earth are you going to get that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, So whoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whoeversoever drinks of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in a well of water springing up into everlasting life. The woman saith unto him, Sir, give me this water, that I may thirst not, neither come hither to draw. And Jesus said unto her, Go, call thy husband, have him come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. And Jesus said unto her, That's well said, that you have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. I'm going to ask you to think for just a moment outside the box. Not to think about the fact that it's a woman, but to think about, we can go back to the logo, to think about the fact that Jesus is here meeting this stranger. And she is not only a stranger to him, but he is a stranger to her. See, we have a tendency to think of the ministry of Jesus about going about the towns, and he had crowds thronged around him because they had seen him raising the dead. They have heard of him healing paralytics and lepers and all of these wonderful miracles. He had a reputation that preceded him. And I think sometimes there's a tendency to think, well, people need to know my title, or they need to know who I am, or I need to have this, or I need to have that, I need to have, something in order to be able to really reach out and minister to people. This woman encountered Jesus having no idea who he was. He was just a stranger. And worse than that, he wasn't just a stranger. He was a stranger that she recognized from a land that really is supposed to be at odds with her. So not only is he just a neutral foreigner, a neutral stranger, but he's actually someone where there is some opposition. There is something contrary there. Okay? And she has no knowledge of his miracles. She has no knowledge of his ministry. They are both starting from square one with each other. Now, Jesus did have a slight advantage because he was God. But, just putting that aside for a moment, she encounters him with no knowledge of his reputation, his ministry, the miracles of the work that he has done. And so he engages her and he says, woman, I've seen your life and all the sin that is in it, and you're living an unholy and ungodly life, and you're going to hell unless you listen to what I have to say. That is how the story goes, right? But surely that approach would have been effective, yes? I really don't know why he didn't start the conversation that way. Because that's generally a conversation opener that just creates warmth and friendliness. And he said to her, can I have a drink of water? Now, for our purposes, I'm going to flip that 180 and say, would you like a drink of water? We have this crazy evangelism technique. One of the most effective things that we can use is these 16.9-ounce plastic bottles of water that are available almost everywhere. Bought a case of them at the warehouse store the other day. 40 bottles for $2.99. It's a pretty good gospel investment. I was reaching out Friday. There was somebody sitting completely on the other side of the cafe. They just ordered a couple pieces of pizza. They sat down, they were eating their pizza, and I looked all the way across the room, and I noticed they weren't drinking anything. Now, maybe it was discernment of the Spirit, maybe it was just having been a college student, maybe it was just having been a minister, but I thought, you know what, they bought 2 slices of pizza, no drink, they probably don't have money for a drink. Just a guess. I took a bottle of water, cold bottle of water, walked over there and said, would you like a bottle of water for your lunch? Thank you. I set it down and walked off, didn't say another word. Do you know, standing there, and after a while, that person walked, when they got done with their meal, walked all the way across, totally out of their way, passed where they were going, and came over and said, hey, what are you doing? They opened the door. That bottle of water opened the door to open the door, but they came over and engaged us. What are you doing? Well, we're talking about Jesus. What are you doing? It is very simple to begin to ask questions and engage folks. And it's about that engagement, about building relationships. It is a type of outreach which seems new, but it's actually very old. It's actually what Jesus was doing. I have a list here of 135 questions that Jesus asked in his ministry in the Gospels. Now, you know me well enough to know that I am just really desperately wanting to read all 135 questions to you. But because I'm concerned that by question 135 I'll be talking to myself in an empty room, I'm not going to read all 135 questions. But I do want to hit a few nuggets along the way. Jesus asked the question, who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? You really understand the significance of that question? Forget all theology, forget all doctrine, all religious upbringing. Just a sheer matter of practicality. Somebody is so stressed out worrying about tomorrow, and you ask a simple question. Is worrying going to change anything? No. Even if you have no faith for tomorrow, worrying is not going to help. Now, obviously, there are spiritual implications there, but I think we probably all know somebody in today's world who is stressed out, worrying about financial matters, worrying about a move, worrying about family matters. There are probably people at our work, at our school, in our family that are worrying about something. If we just asked them, what's going on? Questions open the door. Why are you so afraid? Now, that might not be the best way to ask that question, but you could ask somebody, hey, you're sitting around lunch, got nothing to talk about? What are you afraid of? Maybe you start out by saying, you know what, I'm like really afraid of frogs. What are you afraid of? But you see, that's a crazy question. I will guarantee you that if you are sensitive and you are selective, you can take the question, I'm afraid of frogs, are you afraid of frogs, and you can migrate that into a gospel message. Amen? But it starts with building that relationship, with building that dialogue. It starts with asking questions. Outreach and evangelism, engaging other people, is no more complicated than asking questions. There are times that Jesus, yes, he did miracles. He walked into a room and healed somebody that was sick or raised somebody from the dead. And I guarantee you that if you walk into a room and raise somebody from the dead, you'll have attention. Okay, people will listen to you for at least a couple minutes. It's a guarantee. But on the off chance that you haven't raised anybody from the dead recently, and you want perhaps a less complicated approach, you could just ask a question. And the interesting thing to me is the primary place, because Jesus ministered in a few different ways, but the primary times that he asked questions is when he was engaging someone that either didn't know him or actually had a problem with him or had some predisposition against him. It's interesting to me that asking questions is one of the easiest ways to engage someone with whom you otherwise have no relationship, someone who does not currently believe what you believe, someone who maybe is even opposed to what you believe. Asking questions can very quickly begin to build a bridge. And Jesus consistently asked questions of those who had themselves sort of set against him. That was his technique. So we go into a world and a lot of things tell us that a lot of people are opposed to our Christian views. Well, rather than teaching them or telling them or making a demand of them for something that they're already contrary to, what would happen if we just began to ask questions about what they believe, about what they think, about what they feel? Jesus asked the questions, do you believe I'm able to do this? What if you ask the question, do you believe that God is able to work in that circumstance? Do you believe that God could help you? He said, I'm struggling. I have no idea what to do. Do you think God can help you with that? It's just a simple question. I don't know what kind of response they might throw a stapler at you. I don't know. Or they might say, you know what, I've tried everything else in the world. Maybe I should try God, but I have no idea where to start. Wow, did the door just fly open. I love this question. You see, I think it's worthwhile pointing out that the questions Jesus asked, he didn't need the answer for it. Amen? He wasn't asking because he needed the answer. Jesus asked the question, who is my mother and who are my brothers? Do you think that question is because he was confused? He was just having a sugar crash after lunch and forgot where he was for a moment? No, I think he already knew the answer. I don't think the question was at all about him. It was about the people he was engaging. He was using a question to start a dialogue, to create a teaching opportunity. I like this question. Now, again, this is not a good icebreaker, but maybe, somewhere down the road. This is just an example of the type of question Jesus used. But he said, why do you break the command of God for the sake of your own tradition? That's probably more of an in-house question. That's not so much of an outreach question. Maybe that's a question that we ask in the church when we're planning an activity or an event. Maybe somebody at the table is brave enough to say, why are we breaking the commandments of God just to do this thing? Again, it's a very non-confrontational way to confront somebody. I like this question. What good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world yet forfeits his soul? What can a man give in exchange for his soul? There's an interesting question you could ask people. Just start a dialogue. What could you trade for your soul? What would you trade for your soul? Just sit back and watch the fireworks. Amen? What is it you want? There's a great question. Walk up to anybody. You can stand at the bus stop. Be in the elevator at work. Say, hey, what is it you want out of life? It's going somewhere. Amen? Now, it's up to you to kind of steer and guide and see where that's going to go. But the first thing you've got to do is listen. Without listening, we don't know where we're going. It's about building relationships. It's the oldest expression probably in a long time. It says people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And we get so impatient in the church. We get so eager to tell them all that we know about Jesus and all that he's done that we never listen to them. That we don't engage them. And the reality of the matter is they don't care how much we know about Jesus unless they know how much we care about them. And the way you do that is you create that interest by making connections, by asking questions, and by listening. And it's so contrary to what we believe. We want to be heard. But effective outreach comes through listening, not through being heard. It is so contrary to our nature. Without patience and love, this is one of those things you probably want to write down. If you're a note taker, write this down, okay? If you're not a note taker, go ahead and write this down. Without patience and love, we will not be an effective teacher in today's system. In today's world system, in the environment and the world that we live in, without patience and love, we will not be an effective teacher. No matter how good our message is, no matter how pure our message is, no matter how much truth we have, it will not be heard and it will not be received if we are not loving and patient. Because it is love and patience that allows us to listen to another human being. If you don't think that this is difficult, I challenge you to do something. In the next 48 hours, find somebody you don't know and ask them a question about their life. And then listen to them for the next 10 minutes without saying a word. You can't imagine how difficult this is. This person will be rattling on about the most inane things that you do not care the slightest bit about, and you are going to force yourself to listen to them for 10 minutes. Without interrupting, without saying a word, without correcting. It is so hard to listen to someone else. It is so easy to speak and to be heard. We accomplish so much more by listening than speaking. Now, there is a time to speak. But it's after that relationship has been established, after a level of trust, after a level of care, of respect, love has been built. And people just tell you the most ridiculous things, and I mean, some of them are out there. But you continue to listen. What is the person hearing after a while? This person cares about me. Some people will actually try to drive you away because of their life experiences. They will try to say things just to push you away to see if you will go. And when you don't go, when you don't react, and you don't respond with bitterness or judgment or hatred or whatever it is, you don't judge, condemn, criticize. You just listen. After a while, they start to go, wow. The Bible says it this way, a soft answer turns away wrath. Sometimes the softest answer is just not speaking. It is time that we reach out, embrace, build, and share. We're going to reach out. And once we reach out, we have to embrace those that we've reached out to. It doesn't do any good to reach out and then reject what you find. Whoa, what? Whoa, I didn't know that was coming. You reach out, and then you embrace. You build relationships. Some of them will be very quick. Some of them will take long time. The notion of just going out into the street, it's nice. There are maybe occasions where you can go out and you can meet somebody and in a matter of 5 minutes, lead them into a relationship with the Lord. That's great. But that's not typical. You see, here's the thing about me. Y'all probably figured out by now, I like a challenge, okay? It's one thing to lead somebody to the Lord that already has an understanding of the Lord, already has a background, has some familiarity. It's another thing to lead somebody that's completely neutral, really doesn't know one way or the other, not acquainted, and you share your faith and your life and your doctrine with them. It's a whole other thing to reach out to somebody that's actually set opposed to what you believe because of the experiences that they've had in their life, the things that have happened. It's amazing in working with students how many students you encounter who they grew up in church, but they've drifted away. They still have a love for the Lord. They still have faith in God. They just are not in church because the church wasn't relevant to their lives. The church was not connecting them with Jesus. It was about something else. There was a hypocrisy there. There was a lack of authenticity. There is nothing like the authenticity of true love. And if we're going to demonstrate love to others, we must first cultivate love in us. Because the fastest way to blow this process is to be unauthentic. If we try to manufacture a love that we don't really have and then demonstrate it to others, it will be found out in a heartbeat. We have become experts in our society. Young and old, we've become experts at sniffing out scams, emails, all of this junk. We are bombarded with stuff constantly that is not genuine. And we become skeptical. We become critical. We become people who don't know the Lord still have discernment. They have a nose to say that doesn't smell genuine. The genuine, authentic article of God's love must be in us. And that must be cultivated in us through prayer and through worship and through time with God. It all begins with that personal relationship, that personal worship, that personal prayer, that personal cultivation of that love. And once that love begins to grow and blossom in us, then we can reach out in that love to others. And we can begin to embrace them and begin to build a bridge. And at some point, for some it will be very quick. For some it may take weeks, months, it may even take years. It is okay to invest years or even decades in someone's salvation. It is worth it. It is absolutely worth it. You can invest your whole life in praying for someone and reaching out to them. And it's worth it. Every soul, every life is precious. It is worth a lifetime of investment. Don't give up on someone because it didn't happen today. Or you don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. Build relationship, build trust, and let God work in that. The other thing I'd like to point out before we transition this morning, I don't think we live in a society anymore where I can present to you, where I can tell you what you have to believe. I believe that if you are approaching outreach or evangelism by telling people what they have to believe, you are shooting yourself in the foot. You're wasting your time. You're breathing into empty air. You're speaking to a wall. We can share what we believe, what we've experienced, and then just invite people. Offer to them if they want to believe what we believe. I think most of the time you probably just share what you believe and then ask them what they believe. Or if they don't believe anything, or maybe they like what you believe better. But that relationship and that trust before we can share what we believe, it has to be built, it has to be established. That door has to be opened. Now, I know that this is not a traditional Father's Day speech as far as being a dad and having a few little kids, but to me, fatherhood is something much more than just being the biological guy that showed up. Fatherhood, a father is a progenitor. A father is the source of something. A father provides provision and guidance and encouragement, a shoulder to cry on, a listening ear, care, protection. Ladies, if you'll allow me, you have just as much of an ability to father another generation of ladies as guys, you have the ability to father another generation of young men. This mindset that there's only one or two or four, or if you're a crew, maybe 5 or 6 kids that you're responsible for caring for. They have a great success rate over there. I don't know what's in the water around the crew facility, but they have lots of beautiful kids over there. They're very blessed. I'm not just talking about Jeff and Karen. I'm just talking about, it seems like everybody in crew's got a lot of kids. But you may not have any biological children of your own. There's still someone for you to father. You may not be a man, but there's still someone for you to father. Because fathering is nothing more than being a source, a guide, a mentor, providing direction. You know what's remarkable about this woman at the well? Jesus engaged her with a simple question. May I have a drink of water? Which could easily be inverted to, would you like a drink of water? A simple question. He had no reputation with her. He was not known to her. None of his miracles. There was no title. Even the disciples weren't there. There was no crowd of followers. He was all by himself in the middle of the wilderness, probably looked like a broke down hobo, and asked her a simple question. or made a simple request, that we could make a simple question. And it was not very long later that she brought the whole town to Jesus. May I have a drink of water caused a woman to lead an entire town to Jesus. Look what he has done. I think especially in Pentecostal circles we're guilty of this. We're so desperate for the demonstration. You know, I understand that 40, 50, 60 years ago there was a healing revival that broke out. And I understand that there were signs and wonders and miracles and healings. And yes, I know Jesus Christ is the same today. And I know that there are still healings available. But see, I think that people maybe today, there are a lot of people entrenched in prayer today that are praying that God would do what he did yesterday. They are praying earnestly and desperately to bring the church back to where it was yesterday. And God is saying, hang on, gang, I'm trying to go over there. God's saying, I'm trying to go forward and you keep praying me backwards. We're Pentecostal. We love that demonstration of power. Oh, the church has gotten so hung up on the power and the demonstration. I've got news for you. In the world that we live in today, oh so jaded with science and virtual reality and movies and special effects. See, when Jesus did what Jesus did, when Jesus produced an arm, nobody else on earth could do it. Now doctors are making bionic arms. Doctors and nurses are resuscitating people that are dead. Now, I don't think they've done it after 4 days. Jesus has still got an arm up, leg up on him there. But I know it's not exactly the same. But for kids who play virtual reality games all day long and watch a guy get killed, and he gets back up, you just punch the button, you get a new life, you get a new life. There's something that's lost in that. To me, I truly believe that the direction that God is going in what is today's miracle movement is authenticity, authentic love. I really believe that that is where God is taking the church today. That doesn't mean that the power of the Holy Spirit is gone. It doesn't mean the gifts are done. But it means that it's not so much about power and demonstration. It is about a manifestation of love. Because today, that's the real miracle. In a society where there is, in just a world where there is so much cruelty and so much darkness, so much criticism, so much hate, the absolute hate that just walks into a room and extinguishes life at random. At the end of the day, that is just pure hate. Whatever is driving that hate, at the end of the day, is irrelevant. It's hate. It is hate that is senselessly taking lives. In a world that is filled with so much hate and so much darkness, in a world that is filled with so many unauthentic messages and messengers, so much authentic life, authentic love, authentic relationship, it just stands out like this amazing beacon. It is the miracle of today. Because the world can't reproduce it. And I don't even think they're trying. If we have that authenticity, if we are sensitive and selective about what we say and when we say it, if we are spontaneous, if we are adaptive and flexible to the environment, but all the while we are authentic and delivering a genuine love that resides within us, I believe that we will be prepared to connect, to embrace, and eventually to teach and share what we believe so that someone else can make a choice. That maybe they want to believe what we believe. That maybe they want to experience what we've experienced. Because it's real. And it's transformative. And they can't get it anywhere else.